Hello guys, in this tutorial we're gonna talk about frames. Think about them as invisible subsections like boxes in your top window where you can have multiple smaller things like widgets for labels and entry fields and buttons and stuff like that. So I'm gonna bring this beautiful paint here where we see what we are going to create. So this general border, this big box, is a top window, let's say, and here we have frame number 1, frame number 2. So these entry fields will be for name and last name and submit button, of course, and this thing in frame number 2 will be for, let's say, age and paycheck and individual independent submit button for that frame. Because let's say that this application is connected with MySQL database, so when you click on these submit buttons individually, then stuff in database will be populated. But right now in this tutorial we care about graphical interfaces and we don't care about MySQL backend and that jazz, all that jazz, whatever. Anyway, so frame number 1 is, of course, frame where in a top window, and same stuff for frame number 2. Is that enough? Well, no, because we need to grid that thing. So my advice is to stick with gridding, because if you use pixels for placing and if you use packing, then you will run into all kind of mess with coordinate system. So just use grids and that will simplify your life so much. Right, so frame 1, grid row 0 and column, well, 0, and right, let me copy paste this for frame number 2, row 0 and column, well, 0. Okay, no, column 1, it will be on the right side. F5, and nothing happens because we don't have usable content. Right, so label for name is of course label, and that thing is in frame 1. The text in it will be enter name or just name. Let's use uppercase here, and we will immediately grid it on the same line to row 0, column 0. So we are talking about frame 1 here, okay? And let's have this stuff for last name, of course, in frame 1, and we will go one level down, so row 1. F5 to check results. Cool, but I need to change text here to last name. Right, F5 to check. Okay, very simple stuff up till now. Well, entry fields, right. Entry field for name is entry where in frame 1, and we will grid it in that frame 1 to row. So we need to follow basically order from here. Row 0 and column, oops, column will be on the right side, so column 1 plus 1 horizontally, and F5. Okay, cool stuff. So let me steal this and I'm gonna put it here. This will be for last name, but this time we are talking about row 1. Okay, so what about that submit button? Right, button 1, let's say, will be button where in frame 1, and we will grid it just horizontally down one place from label for name, so row 3, right, row 3 and column will be 0. I think that's cool. All right, so I need to have text here. Text will be submit. Generic stuff, but it will get the job done. And what about that another frame? I'm gonna have subsection here for that. Okay, this will work. So I'm gonna actually steal this code and change couple things. Copy paste. This will be label for age. Let's call it age, and this will be a label for paycheck, pay, and I need to change this. So entry field for age and entry field for pay, but all these things are in frame number 2. Frame number 2, and same stuff for button. Okay, hopefully everything is fine. F5. Right, so that's it. And guys, you're probably wondering, well, what about... Right, I need to change this button too. How I don't see borders? How to create those borders? Well, let me see what I can do. Here, we need to type something that you don't expect. You will probably say use border 1 here or something like that from HTML approach, but you cannot do that. You must use 2 things like highlight background. So when you're creating borders for frames, you must use highlight background, and that's not enough. This thing will be black, and also highlight thickness. This is how you create border. Highlight. How to type this in English? I think that's correct. 2 pixels or 1 pixels. So let me test that. Right, so there you go. And the same stuff for frame number 2. So this is how you clearly see that we are talking about 2 individual frames. Right, what about operations? Let me think. We need to connect submit buttons with, where is that? Right here, with commands. Command will be, for example, submit name and last name. So let me immediately have preparation here, like def submit for name and last name. This will be one method, and down there for frame number 2, for button number 2 in frame number 2, we will have submit age and paycheck. Right, so we need to have 2 functions for, what was it, age and paycheck. Right, so how to grab these things? Well, we will say that real name equals, and we will target entry field for name, and we will say get that stuff. So we can use it down there, but also we need to grab things for last name. Last name, and we can use it now. Like print name and real stuff, name, and same thing for last name. So we are just printing in shell for simplicity reasons. Last name is a real stuff. Okay, and here I'm gonna use pass, which means nothing for now in this function. It is just enough to have it. So let me see what will happen when I press F5. Right, I have interface, and I'm gonna type here something stupid, and when I click submit, I have problem. Now, why this problem happens? Well, the thing is, when you are working with entry fields, and when you're grabbing stuff from it, of course, with get method, You cannot concatenate grid to this part of the code. You must have grid instruction on individual line. Okay, so you cannot concatenate gridding and creation of entry fields in general. So right now I'm gonna put this thing down there, and entry name for name. When I say dot, now the thing will be correct, but that means that the same stuff must be done for entry for last name. Okay, so now we are cool. Now we can grab stuff from here, and we don't care about the gridding on the same instruction, on the same line. It's kind of confusing, but you know, this is a low level GUI creation. What to do about that? Pretty much nothing. Anyway, F5, and hopefully everything will be right now. John Smith, and hopefully there you go. Okay guys, that will work. So just remember, when you're grabbing stuff from entry field, and that's the whole purpose of entry field, do have grid, place or pack at individual lines, guys. Okay, that's pretty much it. Now I can go to another frame to see what's up. Well, let's do same thing. Here we will grab age from entry for age dot get, and we will grab paycheck, entry field for pay, and then we will just print it like age, and we'll grab age like a real data from entry field, and same stuff for paycheck, and let's concatenate that with real stuff, which is pay, which means that right, we need to change gridding down there again. So here I'm gonna steal this stuff, and entry age, we are doing gridding on individual lines, which means I need to steal this and apply it on entry field for pay, and hopefully everything is fine. Right, so this is individual method, that is that one, and hopefully F5 will get us very nice result. So test 1 and test 1 for first field, okay, and test 2 for second frame. Right, submit. There you go. So everything works. And if you want to have some differentiation here, then you can just use, I don't know, like horizontal line 80 times. This symbol we're gonna multiply it with 79 times. Same stuff for another method. Right. Yeah, I know this is kind of confusing, but guys, this is low level graphical stuff. F5, John Smith, submit. Why I don't see it? Oh, I see it because I didn't click it. Right, and age for John will be 50, and payment will be 10,000 something monthly, let's say. Right, so that worked, guys. Of course, this is very simple operation. We are not actually getting stuff in MySQL database, but as you can see, the better idea, if you have bigger problem, will be to separate graphical code from function code, so you can have them in multiple custom your own modules. Yeah, I know it's confusing, but no one said that graphical stuff is easy stuff. You need to type a lot. Well, it's free, it's available, you have it with default Python installation. And yeah, that's it, guys, nothing special here. As always, thank you for watching, and see you next tutorial.